No, you know what? I'll restate everything
Okay.
you said. Next month, June 10th, when Mary Jenkins will have another marvelous program. Now let's hear all the voices. Let's start with Juliet, please.
Good morning. I'm Juliet Doris Williams. I'm the executive director of the H.E.A.R.T Center, which is a nonprofit drop-in recovery support and wellness center for people living with mental health, addiction, and trauma, located in Columbus, Ohio. We operate in 2 locations in Columbus on the east and west sides of our fair city. And we also operate a daily warm line, which is just a step down from a hotline because we're trying to prevent crisis. We're not a crisis line. So we are celebrating our sweet 16 year of existence here in our community, and glad to be here. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, Juliet. And next up, Roxy, please.
Hi, everybody. My name is Roxy Frazier Hives. I am the CEO and founder of an organization called Help for Homelessness and Beyond. We are located in Columbus, Ohio. We assist survivors of domestic violence, their children, at-risk and homeless families, and then also homeless youth. We have a food pantry that we run every second Saturday of the month out of Macedonia Church. We also operate free summer camp for the kids at a couple different locations. So we partner with A+ Arts Academy. And so we operate summer camp from their locations and then also a location inside of the church. We also help with furniture and clothing and anything else that a family would need in order to be able to sustain themselves and get on track. We're having a Mother's Day event tomorrow. So for all the moms out there, St. Stephen's Community Center, 11 o'clock. If you don't have anything to do, come out and join us because we're going to do something really special for the moms.
All right. Thanks, Roxy. How about Tony?
Hi, good morning, everybody. My name is Tony Bonina. I'm with Christ's Cocoons, and we provide assistance for the homeless as well. We primarily provide sleeping bags. That's what a cocoon is, but we also provide other things like tents and other things that we collect and distribute through several organizations that serve the homeless, also deliver them directly to the homeless. And been a long time supporter of Charitable Roundtable. So I'm going to put a little pitch in. I'm also an instructor at Franklin University, and I teach a course where we work with nonprofits, especially newer nonprofits, to provide them with marketing plans. So if any of you have an organization and would like some assistance with getting a marketing plan, actually you get 2 or 3 marketing plans because students do them in groups, text me or chat me your information in the chat separately. And I've also put my contact information in there, and we'll get you hooked up. We are teaching the course again in the fall, so we'll get you started then. But I need to get that done. So if I can help out, we'd love to do it. We've done it for a lot of organizations, and Christ Cocoons actually is one of them. That's how I got on the board. So good to meet all of you.
Thanks, Tony. Next hand up is Nancy.
Hi. I am here calling from Maryland, but my organization is international. I started this organization during the pandemic when all social life was stopped. And I saw there was a lot of people very depressed. And I wanted to reach out to friends around the world with the idea of lifting their spirits and bringing hope and creating links. So I contacted my musician friends around the world and created a festival, a virtual festival, reaching out to the community around the world with music by a composer I met from Argentina who wrote from the heart. it was very successful. We got the participation of all the artists. Everybody produced their own videos and contributed to the festival. Then the next year, we started a competition. Again, the principle is to communicate with people through the heart. And I think that when we meet each other to express who we really are, and we present who we are from our ancestors, it facilitates the ability to create links of love. And so the whole thing, the whole purpose at the base of this organization is to reach out, and you could say, and touch someone. So right now we are running a competition, inviting people, composers, international composers, to compose pieces, short pieces, where they tell us and the world about their experience from based on their folk or ancestral traditions. So in
Thank you, Ms. Nancy.
Thanks, Nancy.
Okay.
I think we had something in November that was really great. I only got 2 more hands raised here. So we had something in November that was really great, where Frank took us through an exercise to get us to say what we do and who we are in 20 words or less. And man, that was really effective. I can do something because of my background in radio to help people working on 30-second ads. Maybe we should have a program about that sometime too. I lost Jim. Jim's hand was up. Jerry Brown, you're up next.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Jerry Brown, and I recently got married and I moved to Columbus. I want to learn more about the nonprofit space here at PNC Bank. I'm the senior investment and portfolio consultant and a friend of the Charitable Roundtable. I've been to a few of these monthly events, and I just want to continue to learn more and be more involved in the nonprofit space, join boards, etc.
Thank you, Jerry. And Amy Lammers.
Hi, good morning, everyone. So I'm Amy Lammers. I'm in Columbus, Ohio. I am the founding member and vice chair of the Ann Wolf Foundation and have had a long career in higher education and nonprofit work. And right now I'm actually in career transition. So I'm looking for my next adventure, but great to be with you all today.
All right. Thanks so much, Amy. Lauren from Chicago.
Thanks, Brian. I'm not sure if you all know this, but 40% of low-income households lack access to a computer and or internet service. Clearly, we all rely on our computers and internet. That's how we're meeting today. Well, PCs for People is a nonprofit that takes retired computers from corporations, schools, and other organizations and refurbishes them to distribute to low-income households. That's what we do in 30 seconds or less.
Hey, thanks, Lauren. Well done. And next up, Dustin, please.
Is it Dustin or me?
Well, I see Dustin Keller on the screen here. Is that you?
Is it under a female face?
Yeah, so like Diane, it has your name as Dustin, so if you would share what Dustin does.
Well, I'm going to share what I do. So
that sounds good too. And you can also change. You can also change your name in the.
I just used a link that he had forwarded to me. So my name is Diane Wingirter. I'm a certified grant writer. My company name is Grant Writing for Goodness. So I liked, Brian, how I dovetailed right into what you were talking about. So my tagline is focused on the greater good. And that's what I'm all about. So there's numerous grants available for nonprofit organizations, and they need help with that entire journey. So that's what I do. And I took a course, passed the test, so that's why I'm considered a certified grant writer. It's not a requirement in the industry, but I am. and did that in 2020. So I've been writing grants for almost 3 years now.
All right, fantastic. And Jim's hand is back up. Jim Janasek.
Thanks. Yeah, Jim Janasek with the Ohio District Kiwanis. We're a global organization of volunteers dedicated to improving the world one child and one community at a time. In Ohio, we have about 200 communities where we have a Kiwanis Club presence and about 20,000 members throughout all of our service leadership programs. Thank you.
All right, well done, Jim. Spoken at Kiwanis many times. Love the organization. Thank you so much. Janet, you want to say something, say hello?
I'll say hello, but I don't have a nonprofit. I just support them, and I do have something but I'm not a certified nonprofit. I just sponsor someone.
That's right. You've just been so helpful. I thought you had that nonprofit heart.
I don't, but I want to again thank Brian. I support a school group in the Eastern Arctic, helping supply extra school supplies. And Brian was very generous in sending me a box of goodies for me to send up. So thank you.
Long way up there. Nuna, please.
My name is Nuna. I'm calling in Maine. I am Executive Director of Wounded Healers International. It's an international organization that basically operates from my home country, Kenya. And we exist to disrupt the cultures of sexual violence and support the survivors of sexual violence in my community. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Anyone else that represents a nonprofit organization would like to say hello?
Hey, everybody. My name's Annette Neff, and I'm with the Byron Saunders Foundation. And I apologize, I'm at the pool. There's a lot of glare, so I didn't want to put everything on my computer, on my laptop and phone. Anyway, the Byron Saunders Foundation provides Thanksgiving meals to those in need in Franklin and surrounding counties. And we're holding our 5th annual fundraiser, and save the date for September 15th for Dancing with Our Columbus Stars. Glad to be here. Thanks a lot.
All right, thanks so much. And, being an equal opportunity organization here, I'm going to have to let Brian with a Y, Brian Curtis, say something. I know he's a friend of the roundtable, but he also does some good nonprofit work. Brian, you want to say hello?
Sure do. Good almost afternoon. This is Brian Curtis. I do community outreach and sales for the Awesome Company, which is a custom spring printing studio. They print T-shirts such as this, and their mission is to employ adults with autism, and they do T-shirts, they do apparel, direct-to-film, embroidery, and when I'm not doing that, I am on the volunteers committee for the Columbus Arts Festival, which is this wonderful little, that's their mascot, so I'll be missing Mary's wonderful talk next month because I'll be there, and they need 400 volunteers to make that 3-day festival downtown a success.
Fantastic.
Thank you, Brian with an I.
Well, it's a big Brian with an I day today, so
I know. Our former priest friend is our speaker.
That is right. Yeah, Mary Jenkins has the program here, and she has been putting together some really, really good programs for the charitable roundtable. I don't see any more hands up at this point, so I'm going to turn this wild rumpus over to Mary Jenkins for the program today. After Brian's program, we'll come back for as time allows for a little find out what you are inspired to do based on the message today, and then we do have a bonus time at the end for networking for those who can stay on at the end. But at this time, let me turn the program over to the leader of the charitable roundtable. We didn't acknowledge Frank Agan. And when I think leader of the charitable roundtable, first of all, Frank Agan, he's the guy that started this whole thing and got us going with this. So Frank, thank you so much for doing what you do. You want to say hello? Oh, is he frozen?
I think he's frozen.
I got Frank frozen here.
I've got everybody frozen on my end.
Go on with the show.
There we go.
There we go, Mary. I might have been frozen. I couldn't tell. Mary, ladies and gentlemen, Mary Jenkins. Yeah.
Okay, so sorry about that. And Frank, I do see you moving, but those of you who don't know who Frank is the visionary behind the Charitable Roundtable. He saw a need for there to be space for nonprofits to come together, as well as people who are friends of the nonprofit that want to see nonprofit work go forward. And so he created the Charitable Roundtable back in 2015, if I believe. I've had the pleasure of being part of the Charitable Roundtable in person before pandemic and then virtually post-pandemic. And so it has been a wonderful time. This last year, the Charitable Roundtable, we made a shift to where we wanted to put something in place so that we give nonprofits information that can help them for whatever it is in different areas. And so those of you who don't know who I am Mary Jenkins, and I'm the founder of the Cancer Option Collaborative, formerly Christians Overcoming Cancer, where we raise money to provide emotional support and financial assistance to active treatment cancer patients. I have 17 years experience of doing nonprofit work. And so I love nonprofit work. And when the opportunity came to be more involved with the roundtable, to give nonprofits information that they could benefit from, I definitely jumped in. So I want to say thank you to Frank for this space and for allowing me to be part of it. And thank you to Brian, the first Brian Reinbold, being the mission specialist, because he is wonderful at what he does. And so today, I am excited to present to some and reintroduce to others my dear friend, Brian Bachand. Brian is someone who, there are so many words that could describe him, but I will say this, and I put it in the information. Yes, he's raised over $30 million. Yes, he has inspired people around the world. Yes, he has taken a vision and made it so impactful that people's lives are changed. Yes, he started companies, but you could hear me say it or you could hear him say it. And when I thought of someone that could help us when it comes to fundraising, that is something that nonprofits need. And so having a conversation with Brian and hearing what he talked about, I was like, oh, absolutely. We have got to have you share with the nonprofits. But here's the thing. There are several people that are on here that are business owners. And so the information that he's going to share will also be beneficial for you. And so with that, I would like for you to join me in welcoming Mr. Brian Bachand.
Thank you so much, Mary. You're always a gem, and it's a gift to be here. And I'm just so happy to be with all of you. Also, a very special thank you to Brian, who spells the name with an I, just like I do. This is the Brian Day, so thank you. And a very warm appreciation to Frank as well. It's all because of connecting with you originally, Frank, that this is all kind of gone out. So it's a real power to your mission of networking too. So thank you for that. So I am so happy to be here. And I do ask though, I do need to have access to share my screen. I'm disabled. So I don't know if Frank or Brian, if you could allow me to just share my screen. Thanks. Let's see here. Here we go. Perfect. Wonderful. So there's nothing worse than death by slide. So I promise you that is not going to be the case today, but it is a sense of just background for us. So who am I and, why am I here, as Mary said. Before I jump in, Mary, what is my time limit? That was one thing we didn't discuss. How long, what is the time frame?
So we will plan to be completed for the day at 1 o'clock. And so I'd say about 10 till 1, That way we can give final thoughts, and then we'll have networking after from 1 until 1:30.
Perfect. That's great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So what I want to share with you today, just briefly, of who I am is just something here that for some reason, the slide is, oh, here we go. Images speak louder than words, and I'm not going to spend much time on who I am. So that's yours truly in the center here. But if you look in the upper left-hand corner, I'm sure you can see that's a place that many of you probably have been, or maybe you've seen pictures of. It's Rome. It's the Vatican. And so I was a priest actually for 8 years. And 4 of those years, I served a cardinal at the Vatican as chief of staff at a young age, and then freely made the decision that I wanted to bring my gifts, my life in a different way out to the world. And it was a beautiful place. It was a magical time. But from there, I decided and began a new life in New York City. And I went to New York City, and not only was it a whole new life, but it was also a whole new career. And I ended in the world of philanthropy. It was never something that I intentionally went out to do. It actually found me, and we'll talk more about that. And I was a director at American Cancer Society. Then I became executive director at NYU Medical. And then from there, I went to Toronto and was part of a $2 billion campaign where my role was to raise $500 million for the Faculty of Medicine, and led a team of 27 and worked internationally with donors from Hong Kong, Beijing, London, all over the US and Canada as well. And also currently serve as the chair of a board for an organization in Toronto called Access Employment, which helps new Canadians find employment. It just became a $30 million organization, which is amazing. And in the upper right corner, you see those famous Zoom boxes like we all have today right now. I launched my own company, Evolution in 2019, just a couple months before the pandemic. And little did I know, and little did any of us know, how much globally that would change and building so many relationships. And so now it all kind of comes together in a beautiful way. And so with all of that being said, I have decided and know that my personal mission is to help and be a light with my expertise, with who I am, for other not-for-profits, because it is something that I really believe that every single person, for those of you who are leading a not-for-profit, for those of you who give to not-for-profits, it is about being a light. It is about being present and bringing out and leveraging the consciousness of the world. Now more than ever since the pandemic, are humans and the human heart open to more goodness? We hear about that all the time. And it is truly the moment now more than ever for not-for-profits to truly have a powerful, more impactful place in raising the awareness in the world. And part of that is raising money. And part of that is accepting that that is something that is very important. And what I want to share with you today is not all the expertise of things of raising money and how do you take a gift from $50 to $50 million. Those things are important. But what I want to share and teach with you today is the foundation of the heart for fundraising. And this is how I was able to raise millions and now work with organizations to help them do the same, especially when they may be in the new stage or trying to grow forward. When this is set as a foundation, this truly is the catalyst for the great aspect of who we are. So today's theme is called Fundraising from the Heart. In my words, this presentation truly comes from the heart of over 20 years of experience to share it with your heart. And I encourage you to just listen with your heart, not always with your mind today. because that is where the magic and fundraising really lives. So fundraising from the heart begins with one very, very, very simple question. And that question is this: are you on a mission of love? And you might be thinking, mission of love? What does that even mean? And so you know what? That's where I'm going to ask you. If you just put into the chat right now, when you hear the words mission of love, what are some of the words that come up for you immediately to share with us? Mission of love, what are some of the words that come to your mind immediately? Just put them in the chat there, and we can just kind of read those out. Hope, giving, beautiful. What else? Healing, caring for others, nonprofit, wholeness, to make a positive difference. Beautiful. Caring, giving, healing, passion. Love that. Empathetic and compassionate. Remembering someone because of the foundation that was created. Absolutely beautiful. That sense of legacy. One more mission of love. Listening and sharing, beauty. Absolutely. Reaching out, putting others before self. Gorgeous. That is a mission of love. All of those things. The mission of love is also not just for not-for-profit, but it's also if you're in for-profit, because we are born into love. We are here to create love. We are to be love and action in everything that we do. And more importantly, in fundraising, it has to be a mission of love. It is something that is so, so critically important. And you might be saying to yourself, yeah, okay, that sounds really great, Brian, but I need money. I don't need love. Like, I got lots of love in my family. I need money in the bank. I have a deadline. We have a campaign. I heard someone saying we have an event going on. I need money. But you know what? When you are on a mission of love and you go in that openness of approach, that's where the money will come in. And that is where it actually flows the most. And without heart and the method we're going to learn today, it's simply just a contract if you're trying to get money. That's why fundraisers and not-for-profits totally just, they last for a while and they don't continue because they lose that mission of love. They lose that mission of what they're about. And when there's love and that focus is clear, that's where the money is going to come from. And that is the power of what we're about today. And so the only way to begin this conversation today is to listen with your own heart. And so today, what we're going to do is we are going to go from the head to the heart space. And we have to open up our heart. And you might be thinking, open up our heart, what does that even mean? But I want you to be open, and I want you to come into this conversation today with an openness of your heart. So what I want you to do right now, no matter where you are, and if you feel uncomfortable doing this with your camera on, you can go off camera, but it's nothing that's going to make anyone, I think, feel uncomfortable. But what it is to open up your heart, we have to feel our heart to have it open. And what I want you to do is I want you to take your arms and I want you to just push them back like this, just a few times. So if you can just watch me and just move your arms back and forth a couple times. And as you're doing that, just take a deep breath in and take a deep breath out. Take a deep breath in and take a deep breath out. And then when you're done moving your arms back and forth, just close your eyes for a moment, if you're comfortable, and just place your hand on your heart. Take a nice, slow, deep breath in and slowly exhale out. Take another nice, slow, deep breath in and slowly exhale out. And what I want you to do is you feel your hand on your heart and you're breathing slowly in. I want you to think about someone from your organization in the past 6 months that touched your heart? Whether it was a look of gratitude about something that happened, whether it was an opportunity that came through that just opened you up, just let that come to your mind and feel that in your heart. Take one more nice deep breath in, exhale out, and when you're ready, open your eyes. When you feel into your heart space, things feel different. How many of you through that feel a little different than you did 5 minutes ago? Just type yes or type no or type the same in the comments. Just write yes, it felt different. Yes, it felt peaceful. Yes, I felt open. Beautiful. See a lot of yeses. Feel enlightened. Yes, beautiful. When we connect with our heart, that opens up our intuitive ability. It opens up our sense to be able to listen. It opens up our sense of mission. It opens up that sense of that love and that dedication of why you're there. And fundraising is all about your heart. Yes, there's all other things that come into it, but that is absolutely number one. And that story that you felt, or whatever story or person that came to your mind, that's connected to the why of your mission. That's the reason that you're there. And just make a note, write it down, what that story was or who that person was, because I can promise you in the next day or so, if you're out for a walk or, just even if you're out doing things, if you think about it, something else is going to come to surface about that encounter that gives you an enlightenment. And it's really very powerful. But, one of the challenges about listening to your heart is this. What story are you streaming? Because when you listen to your hearts, just like all of us, even in a heart condition, there can be blockages. You hear people, I had a heart attack. Oh my gosh, I didn't realize. All of a sudden, one of my arteries is blocked. I have to go in. We block our hearts in fundraising by the stories that we stream in our mind through our beliefs. This is the number one way that not-for-profits or individuals block themselves from raising money, by the stories that we stream. And you might be thinking, well, I don't stream stories. It's like Netflix, right? You can go on, you can stream things all day and we can watch things. I don't know about you. I kind of have a thing about The Crown. I can go back and watch season 1, season 2, season 3. I think they're so beautifully done. I find it kind of fascinating. I can stream those all the time. Even though I know what's going to happen next, I find it intriguing. Well, we also stream things in our belief day in and day out all the time. And some of the stories that you have to be aware of and really be honest with yourself right now, what are some of the stories that you might be streaming? Is it a sense of, people with money just aren't generous? And maybe it's a sense of, we're going through some hard times economically, so I can't ask for money. Or maybe there's a sense of, there's another charity that does the same thing that I do and they have all the big donors, so I'm never going to get that. Or you stream, the biggest donation I ever got was $150 and maybe that's all I'm worth. Like people don't want to give me $500, $1,000, $10,000. Or maybe it's a sense of my board just doesn't get it. If they would only open up their network, I would get so many more donations in. Stories, 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 stories. And that's what can block our hearts and can really block us in things that we're trying to do. And so it's important to realize right now, what I want you to do is think of what is one story, and this isn't a sense of judgment or a sense of kind of feeling bad about, yourself, but a sense of just, okay, this is a story that I might need to kind of look at. Is there a story that you kind of stream to yourself about fundraising that might be holding you back? And think about it. Just think about that to yourself, maybe write that down. And it's really important to be aware of that. Also, raising money for a not-for-profit has a direct 1,000% correlation to how you and how I have a relationship with money. If we have a challenging relationship with money, if we grew up in a family that maybe money was always an issue, or was argumentative, or was challenging, or we grew up in a family that there was tremendous abundance, and we saw how that was taken care of, that will have a direct impact on our relationship to money now and raising money, and that will be felt. And so it's very important to say, how is my relationship with money personally? Because that will impact how you bring that energy and that focus into your work in the not-for-profit as well. And so whatever area you've thought of that is a sense of, wow, okay, I stream a story that, I don't think I hold back donors because I don't feel I have the right information to present, or whatever it is. I want you to know what it is, because we're going to change that today. Because this is the first step to unblocking any resistance that might be in the heart. And that is this. Here are 3 examples of things that are very, very powerful affirmations. Here are 3 examples. I open myself up to money, and money opens up to me. Let's say you're struggling with assistance, that you're trying to do it all on your own, but you're feeling overwhelmed and not good. I open myself up to assistance, and assistance opens up to me. Or I open myself up to donors, and donors open up to me. The power of this, whatever one of these might resonate, or whatever story you're streaming, to substitute it, it changes it, and we put it into a positive, to a belief. Because you're saying, I open myself up to whatever it is, money, and how money will open up to you. It's a new belief. It's a new positive belief. And there might be 1, 2, 3, or 4 areas that you have to open yourself up to. Because when you do that, it's opening up that love, it's opening up that heart space, and it doesn't take much. Just like we felt a few moments ago doing that breathing and going out. And as you all announced with your yeses in the comments, there was a shift. These can shift you in your perspective of how to raise money and where things are at. This is the number 1 important area, opening up the heart space for whatever you're raising money for, whether you're on a board, whether you are a leader of an organization or on a fundraising committee, or you're working in an institution, you want to support a not-for-profit. These are important aspects because to be open. The next part of the HEART method is E, execution of vision, but it's not everything that you think. And when I say execution of vision, it really is the vision of feeling the mission of who you are. How many of you, and you put this in the comments here and type in, have ever had this happen to you? You're about to go out to dinner with, let's say, your spouse or a good friend or a sibling, and you say, you have a conversation like, so where do you feel like going? And they respond, I don't know. What do you feel like doing? Well, I could be up for Mexican. Yeah, that's okay. Is that good for you? Yeah, I guess so. And then it's like this sense of like, they're not really deciding. And then you go out for the meal, and then afterwards they say, maybe next time we should have done this, or we should have done that. That sense of not being decisive, that sense of not having clarity, is disruptive. It's kind of an odd feeling. There's nothing worse when people can't make up their mind and they don't know what they want. Write in the comments if you've ever had that experience of just that human feeling. Just write, yes, recently, happens to my family, my boss. Just put in a comment there if that is something that you can definitely relate to. Yeah, definitely. Daily. Okay, that's amazing. It is. Because when there's lack of clarity, there's a sense that it is so blah. There's a sense of not knowing where you're going. And the same happens with fundraising. If there's not a clarity of a vision exactly of where you want donors to go, people are going to feel that. That's why some donors don't stay in organizations. They'll say, yeah, they have a good attention to what they're trying to do, but yeah, they're all over the place. Vision is about knowing how you want people to feel with clarity and knowing exactly where you're going. The number one area that I find when I work with organizations is that oftentimes they'll bring in and say, Brian, we need to raise money. We need to build a new gym. We need this new project. And then they start talking and they start going down this path and they start looking at this path and they're all over the place. It's not the clarity of the vision. And the vision begins by feeling into what do you want people to feel by being part of the vision. Because it's one thing to think about what someone is going to give. It's another aspect to feel that vision of why they're going to be giving their money and the way you communicate that vision with that love, with that passion, all the things you said at the very beginning of a mission of love, that's where that has to be just oozing out, because that is what draws people into the vision, draws people into that love. And that is so, so important. The vision is about the clarity of where you're going and how you want people to feel in being part of that community. And one of the most important things to do, there are 3 areas, and it's pretty simple. There are 3 things to know about vision that's absolutely essential besides the feeling. It's the why. Why are we moving donors, or we want to bring donors to this particular project? Just like the exercise you did a few moments ago of listening to your heart, whatever story, whatever person came to your mind, that's the feeling that they have. That is the feeling of the mission. And that's where it's so critically important to know the why of what you're doing. Because that takes away that sense of, oh, I don't know, do you want to go here? Do you want to do that? It's that why. And that is so clear. Because that why is what will get you through these times that are dry or challenging, or there's staff turnover, or you don't get the appointments. That will override that deep why of how you're changing lives. Second is where. Where do you want these donors and this fundraising to go? The clearer you are with that, with the vision, the exact where and how it will be used, that is clarity. Those are like hooks that a fish grab onto, because that's what pulls them in. Because once you are very clear of the where and how it's going to be used, it draws them in, draws people in, because they are hooked on now seeing not only the why, but how it's going to be used. And the third question to ask yourself with the vision is simply this: how are you building a conscious community out of this? The worst case scenario that any not-for-profit, any organization can have when raising money is if they neglect that you're building a community, a conscious community, a community that is elevated to make impact in the world. If that is not at the third aspect of the vision, then you don't have a vision. Because every donor that is invited in to a vision is invited to be part of a community. They have a need to dispose of funds. The organization has a need to receive, and that is a community that can truly change the impact. And I'm sure many of you feel you have beautiful communities, and I know you do, absolutely, and you see the impact. But community has to be at the heart of why you're there, because that is what it will sustain. And in return, they become the ambassadors in so many ways for even more goodness. Because when they're part of that, they want to extend that out and bring it back in. That is absolutely essential with the vision. Oops, 1 second here. This is a great quote that I want to leave you with on the vision. And Robin Sharma is an author that I'm sure many of you know. He wrote a book called The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari. And if you haven't read it, I highly encourage you to go on Amazon today and order it, because it's a thin book that will change your life. And there are so many amazing, beautiful nuggets of wisdom that can impact, especially if you're in the not-for-profit space, that can have a direct impact. But he speaks about vision. And step 1 is to have a clear vision of your outcome. And step 2 is to create positive pressure to keep you inspired. And the third step is simple. Never set a goal without attaching a timeline to it. This quote is the template for when you're doing visioning. You know, I know so many organizations spend thousands on strategic planning, and I am fully all about making sure you have, a strategic plan where you're going. But this is it right here. This is the template to use. You have to have a clear vision. You have to create positive pressure to keep you inspired. And that's the things that are really important about pipeline development. What are the next steps? Developing your board, developing clear ways to receipt donors, ways to leverage donors, stewardship. What is the positive pressure? Because that keeps you moving forward. And never approach a donor without a timeline to it. If you're asking someone to be part of that vision, you also need to know when it's going to be done, how it's going to be done. And that's very, very important. And this is the blueprint for any strategic planning, especially when it comes to the visioning exercise of where you're at. The next letter, A, of the H.E.A.R.T method is announce. Announce. What does that mean? Well, let's just start at the beginning. We've gone from the head to the heart space. We've, gone into the execution of the vision, knowing the why, the where, knowing that sense of, the planning that has to be done. That is important. And then you're ready to announce. But when you want to announce something in terms of fundraising, you have to be 100% unapologetic for what you're asking for. So I'm going to ask you a question. How many of you feel if you're the person that asks for money, or if you are part of the organization, how many of you feel that you're unapologetic when you ask for money? Just write yes, sometimes, no. Do you say things that kind of, you kind of nervous? Write in, just be honest, because I'm sure whatever your response is, someone else is feeling it. Are you unapologetic? Yeah, it depends, usually depends. Yeah, perfect. Beautiful. Unapologetic about the mission. Beautiful. Love that. Thank you. 100% unapologetic. Beautiful. So let's do an unapologetic test right now to see if you really are unapologetic. So, and the reason we're doing this is I'll explain why. How many of you have ever, maybe you say, yeah, I'm unapologetic. I send out a newsletter. I send out my emails, and you say things, or maybe you speak and you say, oh, I just want to say, it's that time of year again. Here I am asking for your assistance for XYZ cause. I really hope you consider giving this year. That's an apology. You don't have to apologize in an indirect way of saying, here I am again. It's that time of year. Hope you consider. What a difference is if you say, I'm so grateful. Here I am standing before you this year to invite you to be part of this particular program to help support the individuals that need us. How about this? Do you ever just say, if you have a meeting with someone and say, wow, thank you so much. It means so much that you've given so much, and thank you. And it just means so much. And this is such a generous donation. And I just thank you. Thank you for your time. I know you're so busy. I know you're so busy. Thank you. That's an apology if someone's made a donation to you. You don't have to keep saying thank you. And I know you're so busy and I appreciate it. Just say unapologetically, I'm so grateful for your donation. I'm so grateful for your commitment. And I look forward to growing this relationship. To be unapologetic means to own from the heart completely your mission and to not be hesitant about asking directly for what you need, of inviting people in directly, not to be ashamed that you're going back to say, here's another campaign this year. We need your assistance. To be unapologetic is to stand with confidence of the heart. I'm going to repeat that. It is to stand with confidence of the heart. Because it doesn't mean it's an arrogance. It doesn't mean that you abuse that power. But it's to stand with a sense of what you're calling in, who you're calling in, is a sense of trust and allowing them to also be part of that. Because if there's any hesitancy, there is a sense it's going to be felt by the person receiving it. Fundraising is not charity. Fundraising is not begging. Fundraising is an invitation to create a reality of newness. And that is powerful. And that only connects from the heart. The next point of announcing is allow, allow, allow. One of the biggest areas that's really hard is when you're trying to raise money for something. For example, I heard someone say there's a Mother's Day event coming up, which is wonderful, and there's probably all kinds of things in everyone's world of things that are happening, that sometimes it can be that sense of nervousness. Oh my gosh, we only raised, $8,200 and the goal's, $15,000. We have to allow when we announce and invite someone in to let it take place. This time of year is so beautiful, especially for those of us who live in cold places. Now that spring has arrived and the leaves are out, it's taken time to allow those things to happen. Leaves just don't burst open right away. They open up. We're nurturing and being there. And the same with how we announce what we're seeking. We have to allow that those conversations unapologetically are going to blossom in the right moment. And that leads to accountable actions. Accountable actions is nothing worse. For those of you who have volunteer boards or volunteer committees, there's nothing worse when people come to a meeting, they say they're going to do something, and they don't do it. I don't know if you've ever had that experience. If you have, put in the comments. Have you ever had anyone they were whether a board member or something, and they didn't fulfill? They didn't fulfill. Put in the comments if you ever had that. Yes, no, it's something you're dealing with right now, and if it's frustrating or not. Yeah, it's the worst. It totally is. And it's, one of the reasons it's the worst, or it's a sense of, like, as someone just wrote, as Roxy said, ugh, is because it's a sense of not owning. That's unapologetic. That is something that you need to really be aware of, that they're saying they're doing something and then they're not. It's like, it's a bad feeling. Accountability is the number one way to when you announce a goal. And there's a lot of things that have to be in place. But if you are announcing to someone, that inviting them in, or you're announcing a campaign, you're announcing an event, a fundraiser, a gala, whatever it might be, there has to be accountable actions. This is probably the number one space where everyone starts to fail in a not-for-profit, because there's not a sense of who's going to follow up. What's the timeline on that? How do we want to move them forward? When are they going to receive their receipts? When do they need the proposal? When do we have to meet with them to talk about this? Accountable actions lead to inspired actions. Accountable actions lead to inspired actions. So if you're holding yourself accountable, holding those on your committee accountable, and that leads to taking inspired action, to announcing unapologetically what you're seeking and moving things forward. And that's so important. And it's such an important part of the H.E.A.R.T method. And the last part here is add Oprah to the list. Sometimes we limit ourselves so much when we're announcing. And this ties back to don't be unapologetic. One of the most important aspects of fundraising is developing and knowing who your pipeline is. It's one of the things I spend a lot of time with clients on. How can you move a donor that gives $50 a month to maybe asking them for a larger gift? How do you move donors from $1,000 to making a $5,000 gift? And sometimes we limit who we're going to announce things to. And that ties back to the belief system. Well, these are the only people that give. This is the only area that I have. I don't really know. No. Announce with authority and a belief who you want to invite in. So adding Oprah to the list, what I mean by that is maybe there are donors that are individuals in your local community that maybe could be a tremendous influence to your organization. Maybe there's a company that's locally by you. Maybe it's your local bank. Maybe it's the bank where you use. And you know what? You should have a meeting with them, to go in and meet with them and sit down and to kind of share about the charity. And maybe there's a ways to engage on that. Maybe there's a sense of a celebrity or someone that you heard of that had a particular circumstance similar to something that your not-for-profit does. Maybe there's a sense of announcing and wanting to reach out to them and taking that courage to reach out. Announce and don't think small. And that is when you're in the heart space, that is where the power of our intuition comes along. That is truly where we can be inspired to reach out to people or a company that we never would have had on our normal list, and to do that. So to think bigger and to go through that. Announce, unapologetic, allow, accountable actions for inspired actions, and add Oprah or anyone of influence to your list. So right in this second, here's a question for you. And we're going to just do this right now. So looking at your not-for-profits and looking at the donors that you have, here's a question I want you to take a moment to just ask yourself. What do you appreciate that is working right now? with your fundraising? Just take 1 second. Not a second, take a few seconds here. And I want you to write down or type in, not in the comments here, but for yourself. What do you appreciate that is working well right now with your donor base? Now I want you to ask the next question is, what is not working now? And, that could be a variety of things. What's not working now is people just aren't giving. Like, I'm not getting donations. It could be another thing of like, what's not working right now is I'm late in getting receipts to people when they give. I don't have a good system. What's not working right now could be a sense of, I don't have someone that's, can help me think through of who are some new people I could contact. What is it? And the last question is, just based on what you wrote down of what you do appreciate and what's working, do you see any connection there? Is there any connection there that's, you're kind of seeing, things are going really well in one area, but something that's not. Is there a connection? Do you find that there's a way that could be blended together, or maybe not? These are important questions, and let me explain why. When you appreciate what is working, you attract more of it. When you appreciate what is working, you attract more of it. So if you appreciate that certain things are going well with some of your fundraising, that's a great place to be, and keep focusing on that. If you recognize that something's not working well, and that's important to do it, it's important to realize, okay, this is an area here that's impacting the growth, but that's not where all your energy needs to be. You have to look through what is working to see in a new way, what is not working, and how to start to fix that and have that open conversation. And to see the connection point if there's an overlap on either of them. These are really, really important questions to always come back to, but it's a way to kind of build into that and have a sense of your temperature reading on where things are at. Relationships. This is probably one of my favorite aspects of the whole H.E.A.R.T method. Relationships. When I went into fundraising, I truly believe I certainly grew in being in New York and growing in the expertise in fundraising. But what made me be able to do that was all about relationships and my approach to relationships. Community is everything. If you are seeking to raise more funds, the community that you build through your donors, the community that you bring into exposure is everything. Personal invitation is the number one reason why people give. One of the reasons people do not give money is because they were never asked. It's that simple. The number one reason your donors keep giving $100 a month or whatever the same donation is because they've never been asked personally to elevate that contribution with the clarity of the vision. Personal invitation is the key, the absolute key to growing the donor base. There's nothing worse when there's a generic invitation that's sent out or generic messaging. But when you receive something personalized, like a personal note, personal something connection, it changes your heart. It makes you feel that vision, makes you feel special. Now, personal invitation takes time, and that's one of the things I want to stress so strongly. Personal invitations is one of the most important things in any donor relationship, especially for organizations. And that is where it's really important to spend time. There are certain donors that you need to engage with and personalize that invitation on a regular basis. And I want to teach you something very simple that I that I started when I was leading campaigns and I had my team do it, and I now share with organizations. It's simply the sandwich approach. It's a sandwich approach every single week to relationships for fundraising. You start on Monday, you do it on Wednesday and on Fridays, like a sandwich. The first day, the piece of bread. Mondays, pick 3 individuals who are donors and reach out to them. Whether it's to say thank you, whether it's to, just ask them about if they're coming to an event, whatever it might be. You begin your week by doing that, especially thanking 3 new people every week. That sets your week off well, and it's setting the energy in motion. Do it again on Wednesday and do it again on Friday. And put that in your calendar. Just put it in there, whether it's 30 minutes or 20 minutes, whatever you're going to do, whether it's a call, whether it's an email, whether it's a text, whatever. You do that consciously. It changes the energy immediately, and it gets you into the personal invitations. The third part of relationships is about pipeline growth. This is a big topic and can come back and speak at another time on that. It's all about wanting to who's in your pipeline. Who are you trying to cultivate? Who are you trying to grow forward? And, the simplest way, if you're an organization that's trying to, I want to just bring people to the next level, or I want to elevate my giving potential, look at who you already have. That's the first place of your pipeline. Who are the people who already are giving? Who are the people who are giving that you've never connected with? Maybe that's when you need to have that personal invitation to reach out to them. Pipeline growth is something that is so vital to fundraising, but it's also something that needs to come from the heart. If you're simply just putting people onto a list because you only look at their numbers or you look at their street address, that can be a way to explore that, but you also have to look at them from the heart approach. Where are they coming into this vision? Why do I want to reach out to them? Where is this falling in? And it ties into the love of, seriously, the love, the mission of love that comes with fundraising. Because if you're reaching out to new prospects and it's simply just, here's what we do and all this information and wouldn't it be great to do this? It's all about you. It's not about them. This is an invitation that's reciprocal. Love isn't one-sided. It has to be both-sided. And you're calling people into something to truly change and where they're at and how they're growing. Relationships is so critical. And that leads to time. It's nothing worse that we think, oh my gosh, time is running out. We got to get this done. Where do we go? Time is actually with you, not against you in fundraising. It's always the opposite. As a kid growing up, my mother, I was the youngest of 5 kids. And if I was really excited about something that I happened at school or something that I wanted to ask my dad about, my mother used to give me the instructions, do not attack your father when he walks in the door. Make sure, give him a chance to take his coat off, get settled, etc. And it was a great lesson because I learned if you attack someone as soon as they come in the door or they do something, the timing is off. So you got to check the time. And for those of you that are, reaching out to foundations, reaching out to corporations, know their schedule. End of year, corporate foundation timelines. When is a good time to connect? Timing is everything. And you have to trust the timing with your asks. It's really important. Trust the timing. Not everything is in your time. Just because someone says no at this particular moment, it is an invitation to go back to them at a later time that may align. You never know what's going on behind the scenes. And dedicated time with a focused energy creates the reality that you're desiring for the vision that you have. That is so, so critical. And that is the deepest aspect of what it means in the HEART method. Because there's a lot of layers and things to go more specific in. But when these aspects are part of who you are and how you're living, fundraising truly flows. So I conclude with this. Here are your HEART actions for today. And they're simple, 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 simple. Number one, I want you to write a new belief statement. Remember those that we did? I open myself up to money. Money opens up to me. I open myself up to donors. Donors open up to me. I open myself up to a new volunteer. Volunteers open up to me. What is the new belief statement that you need to write today and to keep with you? And to say that to yourself when you're taking a shower or you start to get into kind of a wrestling match in your mind and you're feeling frustrated. Go back to those belief statements. It clears the heart. It opens up the passages. Number two, what one aspect of your vision is unclear? What one aspect of your vision is unclear? And the way to do this is to go back to what I shared about what do you want people to feel about the vision? What part do you feel they're not connecting? Where do you feel? Is it the sense of what you're inviting them to do? Is it the why? What one needs a little more polishing? 3, review your donors. Maybe not in depth today, but today I want you to reach out to 2 of your donors, whether that's going to be an email to say, I just want to thank you, or I'd love to set up a time to take you out to lunch, to thank you for your donation you gave at the end of year last year, and I just want to thank you for that. Or reaching out to someone that you want to have a meeting with, just to have an open conversation. 4, plan your time for next week today, especially with that sandwich method. Plan your time of when you're going to reach out to donors, review your pipeline, wherever it may be. And 5, connect with me. I'm offering every single one of you a complimentary free 30 minutes to connect with me, to look at your organization on any aspect, whether it's something about your donors, whether it's the organization, whether it's about how do I move. Not here to sell you. This is coming from the heart. I really want to help you in any way possible if it resonates for a free 30 minutes to kind of talk out one aspect that you want to have. Or maybe it's about you and your leadership in that. That comes from the heart, and I send that to you. These beliefs, the sense of the heart, truly transforms. This has been and is the foundation of all the money that I continue to raise and help organizations. And I'm so grateful for the invitation to be here today to share this with you. May it inspire you. May it hold you in your heart. And I just wish you every success because you are here for a beautiful reason, doing amazing work. And I hope this inspires you to continue to know that and to take those inspired actions always. Thank you so much.
Wow! Thanks, Brian. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You know, at the conclusion of our gathering, one of the things that we do is we go back and we say, well, what are your key takeaways? What's been created for you today, and what are you inspired to commit to? And Brian, I think you just laid it out for us on a slide at the very end there. That looks like that ought to be the key takeaways. I'm not saying it has to be, but man, that is a great wrap up. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
You're muted, Brian.
There we go.
Great. No, thank you so much. And, happy to share that with you as well. And I'm a practical guy, right? Like I said, you got to take actions. You got to take actions and you got to move it forward. Even if it's small things. one small action leads to another small action leads to a bigger action.
I use the analogy of putting a puzzle together. You know, you don't wind up with a completed puzzle, you know, just because you want it done right now. It's one piece at a time.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yep.
Brian, I want to say thank you. Oh my goodness. I mean, I have notes. I have notes and notes and notes, and we've talked, and I got more notes, and I'm like, oh my goodness. And to offer free 30 minutes with you, I know what 30 minutes will be. I know how impactful and how intuitive and your insight and your passion and all that. And so thank you. Today's presentation was fantastic. I am so glad that we are recording it, so that way those that didn't make it can see it. So we're going to upload it to YouTube, to the YouTube channel. I'm stumbling over words because I am speechless, and hold back tears because I'm like, oh my goodness, I always love the time to hear you speak. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, you saw it here today. May 12th, 2023, Mary Jenkins, speechless. I don't know if I thought I'd ever see the day. But Brian Bachand, thank you so much for being here, man. I've got a couple of follow-ups to do. Brian at evolution.com is on my short list for commitments, and anyone else that wants to jump in with a key takeaway or commitment that they're ready to run with.
You know, there's well, it says in the I know you had on the screen, how do we contact you? It's come up twice, Brian. So if you want to throw that in I know you put it on a slide. I don't know if it got missed or whatever.
Yeah. And I shared my information at the very beginning. People are reaching out, so I'll put it generally here as well. Again, okay. It's just my email is the best, or through LinkedIn. So I'll put my email again here for you.
Thanks.
You bet.
Brian, thanks so much. I don't have a charity, but I support and follow a lot, especially with military and first responders.
Beautiful. As I always say, every single person's a fundraiser. You know, every single one is. So when I'm doing actually in Edmonton on Tuesday in your neck of the woods, Janet, I told the CEO, I said, everybody's coming to the retreat day, you know, from the receptionist to everyone, because every single person is involved in being a fundraiser. You know, the way they interact, their presence, the belief, that whole sense of who they are is beautiful. Because if it's based on a contract, like, oh, here comes Mary Jenkins, she's great because she's going to give us more money, or da-da-da, as opposed to, wow, we're so grateful to have this individual who wants to be part of our community. They have a need, but we also bring something for them to be part of a community. It's about expanding that love, and whatever that is.
Love is the energy that makes it possible, it sounds like.
I just want to jump in a little real quick.
Rock.
Thank you so much. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay. Thank you so much for that. There were so many different things that were inspiring, and I appreciate you so much. And I look forward to my 30 minutes. The one thing that stood out for me a whole lot was the piece about just being unapologetic, standing up. And I know what I believe in. I know that my nonprofit organization is important to the community. So just standing up and believing in it and not being afraid to make the ask is important.
That's beautiful, Roxy. And I want to say your necklace says it all with that infinity right there. It's a beautiful symbol of, you know, that's what fundraising is. What we put out also comes in with ease. So I'm glad that resonated. Thank you so much.
You know, that idea of unapologetic really resonated with me too, Brian, because, you know, I've been sending out emails that say, hey, I'm asking you because I'm asking everyone. And you know what? Dang it, that's an apology, isn't it?
100%. And we do it. We do it all the time. And it's felt the more that we own not being apologetic, even in small ways, people feel it. And they want to be part of that, because that's that heart confidence of like, wow, like I need to be drawn into this. Even if they don't have a personal connection, even if they don't have a personal connection to the mission, the heart is drawn in because of the conviction of what you're doing. You know, I've given to charities that I have nothing, you know what I mean? It could be for like pandas or something, you know, and for some, but because the way it was presented in the confidence and the dedication and the kindness, I'm like, I have to be, I'm just moved to do it. That's the number one ingredient, plus some other things, but that's at the foundation.
No, Brian, there was a time when, so COC is donation funded, and you know this. We haven't pursued grants. We literally we ask for donations. And there was a time when people were like, oh goodness, here comes Mary. She's begging for a donation. And I felt some kind of way about that. And literally it had to go, what had to happen was a mind shift of, I'm not begging for donations. I'm giving you an opportunity to be part of something that's bigger than me, to help people that are in need. And when that moment, when that shift happened, it was like, oh, they should have just let me stay where I was, because it changed things to where I became totally unapologetic. And I'm giving you an opportunity. You either want to be part of it or you don't. And if you don't, that's on you.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. Beautiful. And, you know, sometimes people will, you know, tease, right? I remember a donor, she was amazing. She'd given about $3 million, $1 million. I got 2 more from her for a big project. It was great. We were at this big gala, and she was quite funny. And she was seated next to me, and she had her purse that was kind of on the floor. And she said, well, I better move this so you don't put your hands into my purse to get more money. You know what I mean? And she was great. But you know, she was smart, but she was funny. But at the same time, I said, oh, Mary, I would never be sticky fingers and going to your purse, because I would always invite you to open it up first. So, you know, it's the same approach and how you do that.
Good question, Brian. When I have, especially with personal friends, I have a sense that I want to say, I don't want every time we talk to be about raising money, but would it be possible for you to donate to Brave Hearts for Kids, for example? And I'm just wondering how that, you know.
So right away, Brian, because I'll put you on the spot here, that was an apology.
Yeah, I get it.
You know? So the best way to say is, you know, I realize you probably have, you know, things to consider, but I would like to invite you to consider if this resonates for you this year, to be part of this particular cause. Mm-hmm. You know, I really believe your engagement could elevate this. Just let it go.
Yeah.
Just let it go. I know we're caught on time, but I do want to say special words to Nancy, who spoke at the very beginning, sharing about the not-for-profit that she put together during the pandemic. Nancy, you said something, you connected with composers that wrote from the heart. I just wanted to say, when I heard you say that, I'm like, okay, good. That's kind of a good sign. We're going in the right direction for today.
All right.
Yeah.
And so thank you for that.
Well, thank you. Yeah, the whole idea is that everybody contributes from their hearts. Thank you.
I've got a half hour on the schedule available to hang out and network. If others do too, that's good. Brian, if you are onto your schedule, we're grateful for your being here. And
1 second.
Yes.
Before we release, because we got to get.
Mary Jenkins.
We because I'll be coming off recording, but we want to make certain that those of you that are present today join us next month when we have Mr. Donald Wells from Wells CPA, and he is going to be talking about financials. So we've talked about fundraising and being able to pursue different types, whether it's individual, end of year, corporate sponsorships and things and we have a grant writer on here as well. And so in order to really position nonprofits to be able to receive those funds, it's important that we have the financials together. And so Mr. Wells is going to be speaking specifically about prepping financials for grant purposes. And then that's going to be fantastic. So please join us next month. It is, I forgot the date. I always forget.
June 10th. June 10th.
No, June 9th. June the 9th. Friday, June the 9th. At 11:30, and of course we will open the Zoom link at 11 o'clock. So join us June 9th when we have Mr. Donald Wells presenting. And so with that, we'll close out the roundtable, and then we'll have the afterward networking.
Thank you, Mary. June 9th, not June 10th. I thought I was wrong once. It turned out I was mistaken about that. So you can now stop the recording, I suppose.
Yep.